Hey everyone, today I'm going to be talking to you about the great resource known as Google Arts and Culture. It is a wonderful resource that is not only a great reference for you as the teacher, but it is also a great tool and has a variety of activities that your students are able to use inside your classroom. So we're going to get started here. Uh, First of all, Google Arts and Culture is a search engine as well as a reference storage space for both art appreciators, teachers, and students. It uses, or it is a public resource, so you don't necessarily need a email address or Google account to first explore it, but you will need to, say, if you want to share or save any collections or galleries, you will need to have access to a Gmail or Google account. Some of the features that it offers are featured stories, kind of like a current event piece. It has art history timelines, themed collections that are both separated by a variety of ways, from color, movement, artist, time period, etc. We'll look more at that later. It has an awesome tool known as the Zoom In, where it offers a variety of assorted famous works of artwork that you can zoom in on very high resolution photos. It also has two great resources that allow your kids to kind of create their own galleries and collections, as well as go on virtual tours of museums and national monuments, historical monuments. With this in mind, I'm going to have a chance, we're going to go over how to explore and use this awesome resource known as Google Arts and Culture. So here we go. Here is the home page. Now, each day, and again, as I said, you do need to have some type of Google account or Gmail if you want to save any of this information. Right here, when you go and type in the URL of artsandculture.google.com, you're going to be taken to this home page. This home page, stories and imagery changes daily as it takes the information from what you search on artist, as well as just what's popular for that current day or what they're sharing with the world that day. There are two feature sections or feature story sections as you scroll down that are separated by a timeline that you can click on. We have another section of featured stories, featured themes, as well as featured zoom in images and street views, which is where they're using kind of that street view with Google Map. Just this time we can view interiors of places, famous museums and landmarks. We'll go into that more later. And as I said, the artwork and artists and collections rotate out daily. This page does not does not look the same every day, that's for sure. Now, there's a few different ways to navigate if you find the home page overwhelming, like I do. I think there's a lot of information presented on this page, and it's just easier for us to look at it in a simplified view. So you have the option of clicking on the Explore tab right here, or going down to your menu and going and selecting your searches based on these themes over here to the left. I personally like the Explore tab. I feel I like that visual piece of it. Okay, art camera. So we're going to talk for the next couple minutes about how you as the teacher can use this for references and resources within the classroom. First one being art camera. This is a great tool that allows you to zoom in on select masterpieces. You can see a lot of textures and details. We have the ability to select the image that we want to view and then zoom in on very small details or very small parts of the painting. If we want to talk to to our students about like craftsmanship and detail-oriented images, or how the paint might break down over time, or how to approach the brush strokes, and these are just great tools for you to use here within the classroom. You have the ability, because these are high resolution photos, you can get really deep inside these pieces. Back to Explore. So from here, Art Camera again has the option of zooming in on select high resolution photos. 360 videos allow students to immerse themselves into either concerts or museum or installation pieces. My favorite personal one recently has been the fireworks, just to watch how the fireworks reflect off the water in this particular video. I'm not going to have you view it right now, but in this particular video is really cool. and just the sound effects really immerses you into it. Street view we will use more later as we talk about virtual tours and going on virtual field trips. The part that we're going to talk about right now is categories and how you would use this tool as a resource or I guess reference guide within your classroom. Now before we go into these categories, I do want to preface this by saying Google Arts and Culture does not censor out certain images or images of people in various states of undress. So if you're working with younger kids, you're going to want to kind of modify the collections and create your own teacher collections that have images that are safe for school. I know I would not probably show some of these collections to my students because of the various states of undress that we see some of these kids in, and I teach middle school. So anyone younger than 8th grade, I probably wouldn't be showing the pre-generated collections to. Now I clicked on the collection of art movements, and this is a great tool for the teachers as say you're teaching pop art. You have a collection or a pre-made gallery of already images that are pop art related. And now this one is one of their smaller galleries. It doesn't have quite as many images, and that just might be that the private collectors have not given permission to Google to share or photograph their images. Now, if we go into a collection like Cubism, that one has over 300 images compared to pop art, which only had 15. And then you've got Post-Impressionism, which has well over 2,000 images. The image bank will vary as you go through, and it's just, again, on what artwork has been given permission to be photographed. Now, say you are going through this Post-Impressionism art movement, and you are deciding you want to just only show a select few of these images. You're going to select the image or click on the image you would like to save or put into your own gallery, and you would click this little heart icon. And by clicking on that, you're going to be saving it to your favorites tab, and we'll address that here in a little bit, or we'll come back to that idea here in a little bit. So again, art movements is just one of the ways or one of the categories you can see. You have artists, then you have materials or mediums. Now, my personal preference has been the mediums one because I know in middle school, or at least in middle school, we teach a lot of technique and exposure to new materials, a little less art history and more on just the building of those foundational skills. So one of the techniques or tools that I teach is watercolor in 7th grade. It's got this particular category, when you click on the mediums category, it comes up with stories as well as artworks that are created using watercolors. This one has well over 25,000 images. Now, I have already gone through this piece and started to select or favorite images that I personally would like to show for washes or layers of value to my students, and I'm just going to real quickly go over that with you again on how to go to start creating and selecting your favorited images. Now, this is an interesting piece of just creating value with with a series of washes. I'm going to collect this or save this image by clicking on a little heart, maybe. I'm sorry, it didn't want to work for a moment. There we go. Don't know what happened there. Okay, and now I'm going to show you, as I explained earlier, sometimes we run into the issue of people in various states of undress. And if you don't want your students, or if you're working with young students, you don't necessarily want them to view images of that nature. So, as you've gone through your research, or I'm going to show you how to set up a gallery or collection of your own, and how to use those favorited images to create a gallery that is school appropriate for your students. So I've clicked on my profile. I'm going to select on galleries, and I'm going to create the gallery with you all today. Now, normally you'll have another plus sign beside your gallery, but I'm just going to show you how to create a school watercolor themed gallery. So I'm going to go through my favorited images, and I'm going to select all that are watercolor. There we go. I'm going to hit continue. I'm going to title this Watercolor Washes. There we go. I'm going to make this public so I can share it with my students by giving them a link, and I'm going to hit done. Great. Yep, there we go. My collection, my gallery has been shared, or started, and it's now safe for me to share this link with my students, and we can discuss how the different washes, how the artist used layers of washes to create value within their watercolor pieces. Okay. Sorry, it wants to be a pain right now. It's not letting me scroll up. Okay, back to explore. Now, one of the other pieces I wanted to showcase is this really cool piece or search bar for color. Now, I don't know if you guys do this in your classroom, but when I teach color theory, we talk about the colors or the emotions that are associated with different colors. The color search bar or category allows you to select a particular color that is predominantly seen within a painting, and you can talk about or show your students a variety of artworks that use, say, like I just selected the color red has a dominant color within their pieces. You can do the same for yellow, blue. You can assign, if you have high school students, this would be a great tool for them to go through and start gathering or creating their own galleries or collections based off of this color scheme or the selected color that you are assigning to them. Okay, so we're going to talk about now how can your students use this. Now we've addressed how you as the teacher can use this for a great resource or reference tool within your classroom. Now we're going to talk about how your kids can use this. So they are able, like I did, they're able to create their own galleries, just like we did when we created our watercolor one. And this will be a great connection for them as it relates to the national standards 4 and 5, where they're asking students to create or establish criteria for a gallery or curate their own show, and they have to be able to explain and analyze not only the works being used but the techniques and how it all works together. So our Google Arts and Culture is a great way for the kids to curate and establish their own particular shows. Okay. Another way they can use it is under the Featured Stories tab. So this one, or the editorial pages. This will change and rotate out daily. Right now, or weekly, I believe, actually. Right now they have a great piece on street art, women's street art, and this one comes with 12 particular stories that students can be assigned. Now this is a great way for them to create and do the cross-curricular connections of language arts, where they're working on summarizing, they're talking about paragraph structure, critiques, and opinion writings. They're also doing, for history pieces, analyzing. They can use this as an to analyze primary versus secondary sources. Now, I will say some of these articles are more appropriate for older ages and may need to be, even still, if you're using these like in the high school classroom, you still may need to edit these to best suit not only the reading levels of your students, but the age appropriateness of these pieces. So this would be a great, the featured stories or the editorials page is a great option for your students to do current events. Okay, so before we wrap this up, I'm going to talk about 2 last features that Google Arts and Culture has to offer. The first one is Street View. Now, Street View is a great resource to have and to use for virtual field trips and tours of museums. So much like Google Maps, you are able to rotate through historical landmarks, buildings, and actually look inside some of the wonderful architectural buildings and museums that we have to offer. You are able to zoom in very close. You are also able to take your students to areas that are across the world that they may not get to go to. Now, as you scroll down, you're able to search through museums that are both local and global. Right now, I have, for my students, pulled up the National Portrait Gallery, and that is a museum that is close by to me in Washington, D.C. It has a lot of great information about it. When I clicked on the name, it gives me some great background information, some images and stories that are associated with this particular gallery, and it also allows me to click on the option of Museum View, which is where I get to zoom in and kind of virtually walk the halls of the gallery. Now, I do recommend when you're in the museum view that you zoom out so you get to a chance to kind of pivot and look around to begin with. You're able to, much like with Google Maps, kind of street view option, you are able to move around, click on variety of images that you might be able to zoom in kind of closely on. Some of these you are able to get such close detail that you can read the artist statement, or at least the artist name for the particular artist. Let me zoom out again. Level on out. Now I will say, depending on the size of your building or museum, you're going to see a variety of levels. Now the portrait gallery has 4 levels, so you get the opportunity to go and explore, kind of walk through, should you want to, all the different levels that are available to the public. Now, at the bottom of the screen, you might have noticed the portraits down here. These images are images that are available for view in a zoomed in feature. So what that means is once I select it, not only will it take you to its location within the museum, it will also give you this option over here to click on the image, and that is where you go and you can start doing your zoom in feature, where you can zoom in very close on the details and look at the fabrics, anything you really want to kind of explore, get the background information about that particular artist. Okay, level back out, and let's keep going. Now I will say, as you're walking through, you might notice or see that some of your pictures in the museum are blurred out. And that has to do with the fact that, like right here, we see this image right here, it's blurred out. That picture, it's nothing wrong with your image. I just want to let you know that it's not, the private collector or whoever, the owner of that particular piece, is not given permission for that to be photographed or shared on Google Arts and Culture. So again, this is a really fun tool, there we go, to use. I have fun exploring with it. I think your kids would have fun kind of looking around it as well. Before we leave, and I want to talk about the last item, which is the Nearby tab. Now, when you go and you're clicking on Nearby, I think this is a great tool, not so much maybe for the classroom, but for yourself as an art appreciator. I will take your location, should you allow it, it will take your location into account, and it will allow you or show you kind of the different museums that are located near you. And I just happen to be about 30 minutes outside of DC, so I get a lot of the Smithsonian's that come up on my search. Hopefully you have found this video informative and that you're able to take some time and get to a chance to explore it. Once you do kind of play around with it and explore it for yourself, it becomes actually very easy for you to use, and I think it will be a great resource for you to have within your classroom. And again, this is Google Arts and Culture. Thank you and have a great day. Bye.